It's a very sad story. And I got to know him. He was such a beautiful man, such a lovely man. That was a loss that clearly had a huge effect. The story, and it's absolutely unbelievable. And I saw this thing, and I thought, well, surely you've seen this.
Imagine the panic, the sting of betrayal, the heartbreak, all hitting like an explosion at once. The closest people to him finally saw what they'd been refusing to believe. The man they trusted, the one they stood by for years, had been playing them like fools the whole time. This wasn't bad luck or some Hollywood mix-up. It was a full-blown emotional earthquake shaking everyone to the core. People kept asking why, but the answer wasn't hidden in any police report or behind a PR team's carefully crafted lie. It was already echoing through Conan O'Brien's Christmas party that night. While the world stayed glued to headlines about Sunday's tragedy, the warning signs were blaring loud and clear, impossible to miss. What went down between Rob and Nick Reiner didn't happen in some private corner. It unfolded right there, out in the open, in front of Hollywood's finest. And it was chaos. That final face-off didn't happen behind closed doors. It exploded in plain sight, with every A-lister in the room watching in stunned silence. People didn't just hear it, they felt it. The tension, the fury, the heartbreak. It rattled the walls. This wasn't a small spat ready to fade away. It was the fall of a Hollywood dynasty happening live. Conan's Christmas party wasn't your average Hollywood get-together. It was sacred ground, a rare night where big names let their guard down and dropped the act. The air smelled of pine, top-shelf whiskey, and straight-up power. Laughter bounced through the polished hallways until those heavy oak doors creaked open, and in walked Rob, Michelle, and Nick Reiner. The energy in the room changed instantly. Conversations froze mid-sentence, smiles faltered, and every instinct in that mansion screamed. Something bad was coming. Rob walked in with that classic grin fans adored from The Princess Bride and When Harry Met Sally. But up close, that smile looked wrong, forced, empty. His eyes were tight, his shoulders stiff. He was trying to hold himself together while a storm raged inside. He wasn't there to celebrate. He was there to keep his family from falling apart, to pull his son back before the world saw just how deep the cracks had gotten. Rob still had faith that the same Hollywood machine that built their name could somehow fix the damage. But Nick wasn't playing by the script anymore. With his shaved head and those sharp, watchful eyes, Nick didn't look like a guest. He looked like a warning. Every move he made was tense, deliberate, dangerous. He moved through the crowd like static electricity, snapping the room's energy, killing the laughter, replacing it with something heavy and cold. Then it happened. Nick zeroed in on Bill Hader, the comedian everyone knew for his easy charm and kind energy. But instead of saying hi, Nick fired off a string of cold, cutting questions straight to his face. No smile, no handshake, just raw hostility hanging thick in the air. The whole room went dead silent, watching the scene unravel like a movie no one dared to interrupt. The room froze again, dead silent. Everyone could feel it, that dark energy thickening the air, wrapping around them like static. Something bad was happening right there in front of their eyes, and no one dared to move. "What's your name? Are you famous?" Nick's voice cut through the noise like broken glass. There was nothing curious or friendly about it. It was mocking, sharp, meant to sting. He wasn't trying to talk. He was trying to dominate, to tear down everything his father had built, one humiliating jab at a time. Every word hit like a punch straight to Rob's pride. Every glare, every cold smirk from Nick was a clear challenge, a rebellion in plain sight. This wasn't random chaos. It was tactical, calculated. Nick was making a statement for everyone to hear. His father's name, his reputation, his entire legacy meant nothing now. Across the room, Rob froze. His heart was pounding so hard you could almost see it shaking his chest. This wasn't just embarrassment anymore. It was fear. That cold, empty look in Nick's eyes wasn't the gaze of a son. It was the stare of someone detached, sizing people up like they were trophies, not friends or colleagues. The air turned freezing. Decades of loyalty, fame, and respect, all gone in seconds. Then came the explosion. The calm of the night shattered in an instant. Laughter died. The music stopped mid-beat. and every single head turned toward the chaos erupting between Rob, Michelle, and Nick. This wasn't some family disagreement. It was raw, emotional, brutal. Guests who'd known Rob for 40 years just stood there, speechless, like statues. They weren't watching a Hollywood icon anymore. They were watching a father completely lose control right before their eyes. Michelle, always the quiet anchor in the storm, looked terrified. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for help, an exit, anything. And standing just beyond the chaos was Conan O'Brien, watching everything unfold. He didn't step in, he didn't speak, he just knew. This wasn't drunken drama, this was something darker, something you can't come back from. Rob Reiner, the man who once commanded massive film sets and built Hollywood dynasties, now stood powerless before his own son. The shouting slowed, but the air didn't relax. The tension clung to the room, heavy, chilling, impossible to escape. Then Rob leaned in close to a trusted friend and whispered, not angry, not defensive, but scared. "I'm scared. I don't know what he is gonna do next." Those words hit like a lightning strike. No one wanted to believe what they'd just heard, but everyone felt it. The truth cut deep. The silence afterward was suffocating, thick with shock. When the Reiners finally left, it was like the life got sucked out of the room. No one dared to gossip or even whisper. They just stood frozen, stunned. Rob and Michelle walked out toward their car like strangers, bound by name, not love. The air outside was freezing, the kind that bites your lungs when you breathe. The second that door slammed shut, everything they left behind, the laughter, the music, the fake comfort, was gone for good. That car ride wasn't just a trip home. It was a slow, silent descent into dread. Los Angeles still sparkled in the distance, pretending to be perfect like it always does. But anyone who saw the Reiners leave that party knew the truth. Something inside that family had shattered beyond repair. That drive home wasn't peaceful. It was haunted. No words, no warmth, just cold headlights cutting through the dark and silence heavy enough to crush them. Saturday night had been the warning shot. Sunday morning would be the reckoning. The sun rose over Brentwood like it didn't care. Bright, beautiful, brutal. The lawns were flawless, hedges trimmed sharp, cameras blinking red like quiet witnesses that saw everything but said nothing. From the street, the Reiner estate looked untouchable, a mansion of order and success. But inside, the silence didn't feel calm. It felt final. The shouting was done. The storm had burned out. Whatever tore through that house the night before had reached its bitter end. Then came the first sound, soft but chilling. Not alarms, not panic, just the faint buzz of the gate intercom. The family's massage therapist had arrived for a normal Sunday session with Rob and Michelle. Just another polished morning in Brentwood, or so it should have been. She pressed the gate button once, no answer. Pressed it again, still nothing. The quiet felt heavy, almost alive, like the house itself was holding its breath. Something was off, and she could feel it deep down in her gut. She tried calling the landline, no response. Tried their cell phones, just endless ringing swallowed by silence. The routine was broken. The air itself felt wrong, and that kind of quiet only meant one thing. Something was very, very wrong. Instead of calling for help right away, the therapist reached out to someone who really knew that house, Reiner. Ro lived right across the street, close enough to always feel safe. But that safety shattered the moment her phone rang. That call turned a normal Sunday morning into a nightmare. The comfort of being nearby flipped into a curse. Ro didn't wait. She didn't hesitate for even a second. No questions, no reasoning, just instinct. She ran. Picture it. A daughter sprinting barefoot across that perfect, quiet Brentwood street, her heart hammering like a drum, breath sharp in the cold morning air. Her mind tried to calm her, tossing out excuses. Maybe they're still asleep, maybe their phones died, maybe it's nothing. But deep down, she knew. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. When she reached the gate, Ro and her roommate didn't waste time. They rushed inside, desperate to find anything normal, any sign of life. But the second Ro stepped through that door, the air hit her different, thick, heavy, unnatural. The house didn't feel like home anymore. It was too still, too cold. Every creak of the floorboards sounded like a warning, echoing through rooms that once felt safe but now looked strange and haunted. The scent of home was still there, but twisted, tainted by something she couldn't name. Every step pulled her deeper into that awful silence until she found him. We don't need to describe what she saw. Her reaction said it all. Ro didn't scream. She just stood there, frozen, staring into the kind of silence that changes everything forever. She didn't even call out. She just ran. Bursting through the front door like her body was running on instinct, collapsing onto the driveway, gasping for air like her lungs had given up. Within minutes, the quiet Brentwood street lit up with red and blue flashes. Sirens wailed, lights bounced off the hedges. And then came the words no child should ever hear. Michelle was gone too. In less than 20 minutes, Ro went from checking in on her parents to standing in a nightmare that didn't make sense. Detectives began their slow, methodical walk through the house, every step echoing like a heartbeat in that stillness. Cameras flashed outside, neighbors whispered behind shaking hands. But one detail sliced through all the noise like a knife. There was no forced entry, no shattered glass, no kicked-in doors, no tripped alarms, just quiet, cold heartbreak lingering in the air. The scene was spotless, too spotless. That one detail flipped everything upside down. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. This was something personal, something that came from inside the house. It confirmed what Rob had whispered the night before in fear. I don't know what he's gonna do next. The threat hadn't come from outside those tall iron gates. It had been inside all along. The house hadn't been broken into, it had been betrayed. The door had been left open out of love, and that love had been turned into a weapon. By evening, the Reiner estate wasn't a home anymore. It was a sealed-off crime scene, a monument to how trust, once shattered, can destroy everything. Behind the yellow tape, Ro stood frozen, staring at the home that raised her, now silent, lifeless, and unrecognizable. The weight of grief pressed down so hard it stole her breath. But while heartbreak was swallowing Brentwood whole, something else was already happening, 15 miles away. And it was darker than anyone could have imagined. The city braced for chaos. Sirens cut through the night, helicopters swarmed overhead, breaking news alerts lit up every phone in Los Angeles. Everyone expected a desperate man on the run, a son spiraling out of control after an unthinkable tragedy. But what they saw next was something far colder. LAPD surveillance footage from a gas station near Exposition in Vermont shattered every assumption. The video showed Nick Reiner, not frantic, not panicked, but calm. Too calm. He looked collected, steady, chillingly ordinary. No fear in his eyes, no rush in his movements. Just a man in a black and green jacket, a baseball cap pulled low, and a red backpack slung over one shoulder, moving through the aisles like it was just another day. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He paused by the coolers, scanning the shelves like any regular shopper. He even picked up a sports drink, read the label, thought about it for a second, and casually got in line behind strangers. People who had no clue they were standing next to the most wanted man in Los Angeles. No trembling hands, no guilt on his face. Just an eerie calm that sent chills through everyone who saw it. That image, Nick Reiner standing there, casual and composed, rattled investigators to their core. What they saw on that footage wasn't confusion. It was control. Cold, precise, terrifying control. Nick Reiner didn't look like a man who had just lost everything. He looked like someone running a plan step by step. He paid for his drink with a credit card, grabbed the receipt, and walked out like it was the most normal thing in the world. That tiny, ordinary moment hit detectives like a punch to the gut. The man accused of something unthinkable was standing calmly under bright fluorescent lights, acting like nothing had happened. Even the cashier told investigators later, he seemed polite, relaxed, totally normal. That statement shook everyone. Experts couldn't process it. How could someone accused of something so horrific appear so calm? A true psychological break usually leaves chaos in its wake. Panic, mistakes, emotional mess everywhere. But Nick? Every move he made looked deliberate, surgical, like he'd shut off his feelings and switched into survival mode. He didn't even drive from Brentwood to Exposition Park. He took public transport, calm, composed, blending in like a regular commuter. His timing, his transfers, the routes he chose, it all showed awareness and calculation. Cameras traced his every step until he reached a small hotel in Santa Monica, and that's where things took an even darker turn. Inside that room, Nick didn't break down or spiral. He got to work. He covered the windows with sheets, a move that froze investigators in their tracks. That's not delusion, that's avoidance. He knew exactly what he was doing, and that someone would be looking for him. That cheap hotel room turned into his bunker, his hiding spot from the world. Forensics later confirmed what everyone feared. He'd used that space to clean up, to change, to wash away every trace of what had come before. Every single clue pointed to intent, not panic. Step by step, Nick Reiner was managing his own fallout like a man on a mission. When police finally tracked him down, there was no wild chase through the streets, no gunfire, no screaming, just that same eerie calm. He surrendered quietly, without a fight. But the biggest twist wasn't the capture, it was what happened after. Nick wasn't sent to general population with other inmates. Instead, he was moved straight into a high-security medical ward, locked under 24-hour watch. Every move recorded, every breath noted. Officially, police said it was for protection. High-profile cases draw too much attention behind bars, but whispers started spreading fast. Insiders claimed there was another reason: control. That sterile, locked-down room became the new battleground for what comes next. And now begins the legal war: insanity or awareness. The defense will fight to paint Nick as broken, detached, and mentally unstable. They'll say he doesn't need punishment, he needs help. They'll argue he snapped under pressure, that he wasn't in control of himself when everything fell apart. But the prosecutors aren't buying it, and they've got their weapon ready, that gas station footage. Nick standing there calm as ice, buying a drink like it was any other Sunday. No fear, no panic, just composure so steady it's chilling. Their message to the jury is simple and haunting. He knew exactly what he was doing. That's the real horror here. The man in that footage didn't look dangerous. He looked normal, polite, quiet. Just another guy under buzzing fluorescent lights, holding a bottle and a secret that tore lives apart. Brentwood and Exposition Park are only 15 miles apart. But the distance between the son Rob thought he knew and the man captured on that video, it's endless. That's where truth and terror collide, right at the edge where emotion meets evidence. While the media rushed to fill airtime with speculation and drama, the real experts were zeroing in on what doesn't lie: evidence, science, and blood. Former FBI profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole studied the case like she was reading a confession written in red. Her analysis stripped away the noise and left only the chilling reality. This wasn't procedural, it was psychological. The lack of forced entry told the real story. The threat didn't break in, it was welcomed in. This came from someone trusted, someone who belonged. But the real turning point hit when investigators released the official findings on Rob and Michelle. The report listed multiple sharp force injuries, cold, technical language, but experts knew what that really meant: rage. This wasn't random. It wasn't spur of the moment. It was personal, violent, and fueled by something years in the making. Love twisted into fury, affection warped into pure destruction. O'Toole didn't sugarcoat it. She called it exactly what it was: overkill. The kind of force that goes beyond ending a life. It's about making a point. A brutal release of resentment, heartbreak, and emotion built up over decades. Every strike told a story of betrayal and control, and it wasn't just emotional, it was physical science proving the truth that can't be spun or erased. Because here's where the defense hit the wall: forensics. In the world of crime scenes, there's a principle called slippage. When someone attacks with extreme force, their grip eventually fails. The weapon slides, their own skin splits, blood mixes, DNA overlaps, and that's the trap. You can hide lies, but you can't hide biology. No matter how perfectly a plan is carried out, science doesn't bend. If Nick suffered cuts during the attack, his DNA wouldn't just appear where it belonged. It would show up where it shouldn't, right next to the people he was supposed to protect. Those microscopic traces, Tiny drops of blood, fragments of skin, speak louder than any courtroom argument ever could. Once they're mixed, that's it. There's no undoing it. The evidence becomes a voice of its own. Forensic experts even have a haunting name for it: a biochemical handshake, proof that physically links a person to the exact second a violent act occurs. It's not theory, it's truth, time-stamped by nature itself. That kind of evidence doesn't care about emotions or excuses. It's undeniable. Science doesn't leave room for maybe. It answers with certainty. Who was there, when it happened, and what went down? Inside the Reiner house, every detail echoed that same story. No broken drawers, no missing jewelry, no scattered mess. None of the signs of a robbery or an intruder. The motive wasn't greed, it was personal. The target wasn't wealth, it was them. Every mark, every movement screamed intent. Whoever did this knew that home inside and out, the rhythm of its mornings, the silence of its nights. They knew where Rob and Michelle would be and exactly when. This wasn't a stranger creeping in. It was someone who already belonged inside those walls, someone trusted. When the yellow tape finally came down and the forensic vans rolled away, what lingered over Brentwood wasn't just evidence, it was heartbreak. A silence too heavy to carry, the kind that hangs in the air long after the sirens fade, whispering the truth that science had already confirmed. Forensics can tell how it happened, but not why it hurt so deeply. The world didn't just lose a Hollywood icon, it lost a piece of its innocence. Fans who grew up watching Rob Reiner's movies were left stunned, scrolling through headlines that didn't feel real. One comment online captured it perfectly. To give life to a person, only to have that person end yours. That single line hit harder than any breaking news alert. It went straight to the heart of the pain. Rob Reiner had spent decades building joy out of stories, creating worlds filled with warmth, humor, and hope. His films taught people about love, kindness, and second chances. Off-screen, he was the same man, mentoring young filmmakers, standing up for justice, and speaking for those who couldn't speak for themselves. He built lives, not destroyed them. That's what makes this tragedy cut so deep. The man who represented compassion, who lived for family, was torn apart by the very bond he held dearest, his own blood. The heartbreak here goes beyond celebrity. It's the collapse of something sacred, the destruction of a truth people take for granted. Parents protect, children grow, love endures. Rob and Michelle didn't fall because they lacked love. They fell because they loved too much, too fiercely, too blindly, until that same love became their weakness. And that's what makes this story feel bigger than Hollywood. It's not just a case, it's a wound. This tragedy exposes something terrifyingly human. You can have it all, money, influence, compassion, and still not save someone who's chosen a darker road. That's the harsh truth Brentwood's silence forced everyone to face. Behind those perfect hedges and flawless lawns, there were cracks, real, painful ones. Because addiction, untreated pain, and mental illness don't stay hidden forever. They leak into families, twisting love into something unrecognizable, leaving scars that never fully heal. This story doesn't end with police reports or court dates. It lingers, it haunts. It hangs in the air like a storm that refuses to pass. One question keeps echoing through every conversation, every news cycle, every sleepless night. How does love turn dangerous? How does something meant to protect end up destroying? It wasn't sudden. It didn't come out of nowhere. It built up slowly, quietly, year after year, pressure stacking behind those picture-perfect gates while no one saw the cracks forming underneath. From the outside, the Reiner home looked unshakable, peaceful even, but inside, things were unraveling in silence. The weight of expectations, fame, and unspoken struggles piled up until it became too heavy to carry. Now, even as the yellow tape fades and the Brentwood streets slip back into their calm, something there will never feel normal again. The lawns are still trimmed, the lights still glow, but the trust is gone forever. This wasn't just a loss, it was a collapse of belief. A brutal reminder that money, fame, and good intentions can't fix everything. Rob Reiner spent his life telling stories about loyalty, about standing by the people you love no matter how hard it gets. And that's what makes it so devastating. Because in the end, the very story he believed in, the one he lived by, turned against him. Love is supposed to save us. But here, it became the very thing that destroyed everything. That wasn't just a script for Rob. It was his belief system. He lived it every single day, breathed it, fought for it. And Michelle was always there beside him, steady, loyal, the quiet strength holding it all together while the world saw only the smiles. Nobody could see the storm building inside those walls. From the outside, they looked strong, unshakable, but behind the scenes, they were carrying a weight no one should have to bear. This case keeps dragging painful truths out into the light. Truths people spend their whole lives trying to avoid. Mental struggles don't disappear when ignored. They grow in silence. Love without limits doesn't always heal. It can hide danger, smother warning signs, and turn hope into something deadly. Each new report adds another layer of pain, another question that can't be answered. This isn't a clean story. It's raw, jagged, and terrifyingly real. And maybe that's why the world can't look away. Because deep down, behind all the flashing headlines and glossy photos, this story feels too familiar. It's not just about Hollywood anymore. It's about families everywhere. Parents, children, siblings, all quietly wondering about the things they never wanted to face. What red flags did we ignore? When does caring too much turn into denial? When does love, the purest thing we have, start protecting the wrong person? These are the questions nobody wants to ask, but this story forces them to the surface. And for the first time, people are daring to confront them. Because deep down, everyone knows this isn't about fame. It's about being human, about how easy it is to convince ourselves that everything's fine when it's not. How love, the same thing that's supposed to save us, can blind us instead. Even the happiest homes hide cracks no one wants to admit exist. And when those cracks finally split open, what comes pouring out is pain no one can control. This story lays it bare, the truth behind the picture-perfect image. The flawless lawns, the bright smiles, the red carpet appearances, they all hid something raw, something broken. Pain that money couldn't heal, status couldn't hide, and kindness couldn't fix. That's what makes people's hearts ache the most, because it reminds them that silence doesn't fix what's broken. It just delays the heartbreak. Pain doesn't fade just because we pretend it's gone. It lingers. It lives in the walls, in the air, in half-finished conversations, and love stretched too thin until one day, it explodes. With every new headline, every leaked detail, the weight doesn't ease, it grows heavier. The grief deepens, the confusion twists tighter, and the disbelief just won't let go. Nothing about this feels finished. Not the case, not the heartbreak, not the unanswered questions still echoing in everyone's mind. The silence feels endless, the pain feels permanent. And yet, through all the noise, one truth still cuts through. It's impossible to erase what Rob Reiner gave the world. He gave people laughter, heart, and soul. His work carried compassion, and his life, though it ended in tragedy, reminds everyone watching that love, even when it breaks, is what makes us human. Rob Reiner's films weren't just entertainment, they were lessons in humanity. His characters felt real because they came straight from his heart. They showed us how to love, how to forgive, how to laugh through the pain. He believed in people, in redemption, in second chances, and in the power of kindness above everything else. His stories didn't just fill theaters, they lifted people up. They reminded the world that compassion still mattered, and that's why his work will outlive the tragedy that took him away. He shouldn't be remembered for how it ended, but for everything he gave. His art changed lives. His storytelling made people feel. His legacy glows with warmth, empathy, and connection. Things that can't be erased. And beside him through it all was Michelle Reiner. The calm in every storm, the steady heartbeat behind his brilliance. Her strength wasn't loud, but it was unbreakable. She was grace in motion, carrying love, pressure, and pain with quiet dignity. Through decades of fame, chaos, and heartbreak, she stayed grounded. Her love was constant, her faith unshaken, even when everything around her began to fall apart. Together, Rob and Michelle weren't just a Hollywood couple. They were a symbol of devotion. They faced storms side by side, believing love could fix anything. But this story showed us something no one wants to admit. Love can be both a shield and a trap. It can protect you or it can blind you. It can heal wounds or hide them so well they grow in silence. That's what makes their story hit so hard, because who hasn't believed, even for a moment, that love alone could fix what's broken? Who hasn't hoped that caring enough, holding on tight enough, could save someone who's slipping away? This tragedy forces those questions into the open. It rips the mask off the perfect image and makes people face the truth they've been dodging for years. It's not just about fame. It's about what happens inside real homes, behind real doors, in families that look picture perfect from the outside. The truth is, mental health struggles, addiction, and unspoken pain don't care about money or status. They grow in silence, spreading slowly until one day that silence becomes unbearable. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about one family in Brentwood, it's about every family trying to hold it together while something inside is breaking. It's about how darkness can slip quietly into the safest places. How love can be both the reason you fight and the reason you fall. Forensic experts, psychologists, even close friends have all said the same chilling thing. What happened here didn't just appear overnight. It built up quietly, year after year, layer after layer, until it finally exploded. Behind those perfect gates, Rob and Michelle were carrying a weight no one else could see. They were trying to protect their family, trying to heal what was already unraveling, doing everything they could to keep love alive inside a storm. But sometimes, love, no matter how strong, can't stop what's already in motion. That's what makes this story so haunting, because it could happen anywhere, to anyone. It's not about Hollywood, it's not about money. It's about the terrifying truth that no one, no matter how kind, how famous, or how strong, is safe from heartbreak hiding behind a smile. It's always been about love. Love, fear, and that stubborn human instinct to hope, even when reason's long gone. The investigation will keep unfolding, and experts will go back and forth debating sanity, motive, and intent. But in the court of public opinion, one truth has already taken root. This was never about greed, never about fame. It was about love stretched past its breaking point. And maybe that's why it hurts so much, because deep down, everyone feels it. We all know what it's like to love someone who's slipping, to make excuses, to hold on tighter, to whisper, "It's gonna be okay," even when it's not. That's the hidden tragedy here. How easily love turns into denial. How quickly protection becomes danger. It's a story that hits close to home because it's not just about them. It's about us. If this story touched you, take a moment to look past the headlines and remember the humans behind them. Think about the warning signs we so often ignore, the quiet changes, the things left unsaid. Remember how important it is to talk, to ask questions, to check in before it's too late. Awareness isn't gossip, it's survival. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for someone is to refuse to stay silent. So let's keep that conversation going. Let's talk about boundaries, about mental health, about the emotional cost families carry behind closed doors. Because the truth is, this story doesn't just belong to the Reiners. It belongs to all of us. It's a mirror, showing what happens when love goes unchecked and pain gets buried too deep. Rob and Michelle Reiner left behind more than just fame. They left a legacy of love, creativity, and strength. They gave the world laughter, compassion, and hope, even when their own lives were heavy. And that's how they deserve to be remembered, not for how it ended, but for how deeply they cared, how fiercely they loved, and how much they gave to everyone around them. So if this story moved you, honor that legacy. Talk about it with heart. Share it with empathy, not judgment. Keep the conversation alive, not for spectacle, but for understanding. Because stories like this remind us that behind every perfect smile and red carpet photo, there's a real story, one filled with struggle, hope, and heartbreak. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be told truthfully, with heart, honesty, and respect, then show your support. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your voice keeps these stories alive and helps shed light on the truths that matter most. Rest peacefully, Rob and Michelle. You gave the world more than it ever gave you back. Your love still teaches, your light still shines, and your story, your truth, will never be forgotten. See you in the next one.